Hey Atlanta, Apple is open for small business. That's right. We're here to make starting and running your business simpler. With privacy and security built in on all devices, it's easy for you to protect your customers' data. And if you need hardware or software support, you'll get advice from business experts at no cost whatsoever. So you can focus more on the soup du jour and less on, the other stuff. At Apple, we're open for your small business. Go to apple.com/small business or visit an Apple store to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by AWS. Amazon Q Business is the generative AI assistant that can securely understand your business data, summarize results, and streamline tasks. Learn what Amazon Q Business can do for you at aws.com/learn more.
In October 2019, Arlington, Texas was chosen to be the home of a new national museum, unlike any other. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a unique home of military history. The 100,000 square foot museums will house exhibits, archives, and artifacts relating to the 3,500 U.S. troops who have been awarded the medal, the nation's highest honor for valor in combat. The museum will have 31,000 square feet of galleries dedicated to U.S. troops who have received the award. The museum CEO, former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, said the museum will focus on education as much as preservation. The building will have 5 areas dedicated to Medal of Honor winners from the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The main gallery will be located in a central plaza under a 25,000 square foot slab of steel, which will appear to be suspended in midair. It will be supported by 5 pillars. Black Rifle Coffee is a corporate sponsor of the museum, as are the Dallas Cowboys. The museum's board also includes over a dozen major corporations and 6 Medal of Honor recipients, including David Bellavia, Patrick Brady, and Britt Slabinski. Army Staff Sergeant Bellavia was awarded the medal for clearing an entire house by himself on November 10, 2004, as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. He killed 4 enemy fighters and wounded a 5th in close quarters battle. Army Major General Brady flew and coordinated the evacuation of 51 seriously wounded men during a firefight in Vietnam in January 1968. Slabinski, a Navy SEAL chief and team leader, led a rescue team of SEALs during Operation Anaconda in Afghanistan in March 2002. Slabinski and his team flew to a mountaintop ambush site to rescue Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts, who had fallen from the back of a helicopter. Slabinski led the team through almost constant combat against an entrenched Taliban force. Along with the board members, former presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama serve as honorary directors. The museum is expected to open to the public in late 2024.
All right. Welcome back. MisFitNation. We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their story to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with MisFitNation. If you're a musician or actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share some of your tips with the MisFitNation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you're a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and share how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you're a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and just share your story with the MisFitNation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or are embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you're a new listener, welcome to the MisFitNation. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast apps and also on our YouTube channel at @_MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date with our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show. All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation. This Thursday after dinner show is awesome. It's our last night on the road this year with the Misfit Nation. We are just outside our nation's capital in Washington, D.C. Today I got to go down to Washington, D.C. and see the wreath laying at the World War II monument to honor those who served during World War II, but more specifically to honor those who we lost and fought their hearts off on December 7th, 1941 for Pearl Harbor. So today we remember those heroes and the greatest generation as they fought for the next 4 years after that to fight against the Axis and bring the Allies to victory. So watching that ceremony today, it was unbeknownst to us the ceremony was going on. It was great to get down there and see the Navy band playing and see the actual World War II veterans up there with the wreaths as they honored them. And they played each of the branches songs, even Space Force, even though they weren't even thought of at the time. But they played them, and the Army, of course, went first, and we will sing second this weekend. So go Army, beat Navy. And tonight we have a great guest, also a U.S. Army veteran. He's a strategic advisor, author, podcast host, and entrepreneur who aims to provoke thought and incite positive action. As the founder of Iron Front Solutions, he pioneered the Strive methodology to empower organizations and individuals. He also co-founded the EULA Universe for personal growth and is working to help fellow veterans reclaim their purpose. With over a decade of experience across diverse sectors, he is a decisive, creative leader devoted to forging partnerships, catalyzing transformation, and guiding organizations to optimize performance and fulfill their potential. So without further ado, let's welcome U.S. Army veteran, author, and founder of WayMaker Community, Jon Mayo. Welcome, Jon. How you doing, brother?
Doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me, Rich.
Oh, it's great. And when we first had our talk, I think, well, it seems like forever ago, we had our casual talk and just a meet and greet after Adam Bird introduced us. But it's great to have you here again and now on my show. I got to try some of your products, and they worked very well, and I will be going back into the bank and getting some more. So thank you for introducing me to those, and thanks again for agreeing to come on here.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure.
So, Jon, I just gave your home run hit, an elevator pitch bio there. Now I'm going to throw that curveball at you and say, Jon, tell the audience about you from as far back as you want to go, what led you to serve, and how we got here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like a lot of young men, I wanted to go and fight. And that's, the time I signed up and began training, we were still in the peak of things out in the Middle East. So it seemed like a good time to do it. By the time I got to actually participate in active duty, things had changed significantly. So, looking at that, served my time and then determined that I need to make some shifts for the home front, right? So made those shifts, and that's when things start to get more interesting concerning all the things that you mentioned in the bio and that we're talking about now, as far as helping veterans to reclaim their purpose, write their second mission, pursue it, helping American citizens to pursue significance, create immense value, build strong communities. Those things to me are more than just fun phrases, but truly they imbue my life with purpose and meaning. And I'm constantly pursuing this question of how might I help to unleash human potential. And that's now manifesting itself through three primary unified efforts, right? One is the strategic advising, where I help business leaders and owners to bring their visions to life and accomplish their goals. And then the other is through creating physical tools like the product you just mentioned, CSU Stamina Energy Chews, which both gives you the boost, clarity, and enhanced energy focus and performance that you need now to get through the fight of today, while also giving you compounding health benefits after 2 weeks of continuing using it. So it's actually giving back to you over time, as opposed to so many things that just take from us. And then the third and final, and probably the thing I'm most passionate about, is the WayMaker community, which is a community in which driven individuals, veterans, are coming together and walking through life together daily in pursuit of their ideal selves, and to create that value, pursue that significance, and build strong communities around them. And all of that helps us to further safeguard and increase individual freedom and sovereignty, that which we signed up to fight for the first time, and now can continue to advocate, safeguard, and progress on this side of service. So that's a more thorough deep dive, but a fun conversation starter for us.
It definitely is. And I always like when I'm given a bio and I get to give that, but then make you expand upon it and get out of your elevator speech and actually give your speech. And it's much better, more genuine coming from you than any host can ever do it. So we appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So let's talk a little more about your early days, the Strive methodology. What led to that, and how did you build it and make it successful?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's actually kind of a different progression of things. So I wrote a book called Be Relentless. If the obstacle is the way, then we must be Waymakers. And that was the result of about 6 years of just putting myself through the personal gauntlet and hellscape of just extraordinarily difficult things that I needed to do to prove to myself who I was going to be on this side of service. After navigating that, wrote that book, and the ULA universe, right? The universal learning approach, these things all feed into Strive. So just a little bit of context in answering the Strive methodology, but the universal learning approach is an actual learning approach that models how we, as human beings, more naturally, iteratively learn things. So if you think about a baby learning to walk and they stumble and they fall and they get up, they're at point A, they want to get to point B. They learn more intuitively through iteration. Well, that in its simplest form is what the universal learning approach is. And that approach works very well in self-actualization, becoming who you want to be, accomplishing goals, learning new skills. And it happens to also work very well when you're looking at organizational change, strategic transformation, cultural shifts, these types of things that I do in the strategic advisory side. But what's different is you can have a much simpler tool set for an individual who, say, does a personal contract, begins increasing their intentionality and discipline, and begins transforming themselves, which is advocated in the book, Be Relentless, my podcast, the community, and all of these things. Well, you formalize that a bit and add a few more tools and structure to it, and you have something that organizations and teams can use. And that is what the Strive methodology is. It is as simple as I was able to make a process be to helping leaders activate their vision through decisive action. And it grounds, right, very simply, in where are we now, what's happening around us, what can bite us, where do we want to go, what are the most critical steps we can take, and how do we continue to learn and adapt our pursuit as we continue to move forward. And that's where each letter of the Strive comes in from a high level. But it thankfully is highly effective and has worked across many sectors at this point. And it has also worked whether it's been a small $1 million mom and pop shop up to multiple hundreds of millions of dollars larger enterprises, which is fantastic. And it takes buy-in from a leader who wants to make positive change and impact and is willing to put in the work and lead their team accordingly.
Outstanding. And the audience, I'm guessing, understands because they're not asking questions yet. So that's good. You are able to keep it simple enough so they can understand it and understand the value of it. So that's a great way to launch that was your first part of your business, correct?
No, it's actually the latest part.
The latest portion, okay.
Yep. So I worked on as an organic leader. So join teams as a senior leader, and I would do 10 to 18 month turnarounds, right? Either performance based, cultural based, or there would be an aggressive goal where things were okay, but they really wanted to do a hyper focused shift. So I'd go in and I'd do that. And while I was doing that professionally, I was working on the individual philosophy work and the community work. And then when I left, that's when I formalized that process that I've applied over the last decade and borrowed brilliance from a bunch of other really intelligent folks and distilled that into the Strive methodology. And that's what I'm employing now and making available to folks so that they can self-deploy it as well. But that is the high level operating framework methodology that I think about and think through when I'm working with folks to help them succeed.
Awesome. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah,
I had it written down in the wrong order. That's why. So.
No, it's totally fine.
Okay. Then we talked about the Waymaker community, and when we talked to each other the first time, I think that's something the audience would love to hear about is the Waymaker approach and the community that you're building with that.
Yes, absolutely. So the Waymaker idea comes from the book. There's an old Stoic thought: if the obstacle is the way, right? And that's this thought born from Stoicism, and I extrapolated upon that, thinking, okay, if the obstacle is the way, then we need to be Waymakers, right? We need to be people who embrace that obstacle and transform it into opportunity. And if we do that, we can create something truly wonderful with our lives and with the world around us. Well, the Waymaker community is a community of people who aren't done, right? They want to have a fulfilling life. They want to be better than they were yesterday. They want to have something to look forward to, and they want to safeguard and continue to perpetuate positive change in the world instead of accepting any potential narratives of negativity or destruction, right? There is good, there is bad, and this is a place where you can take decisive daily action towards creating the good and pushing out the bad, right? So with that, it's hosted in a platform called Discord. You can learn about it on jonmayo.com. There's links to it there under community. And there's an open source element of it that anyone can join. And there I've given the book away for as cheaply as I can. There's podcasts with different community members diving into what it's about. But any resource that someone wants to take these ideas and apply it to their own life, they're able to. And I've made that available with as low or no barrier to entry as possible. And then if you want to do more with us, there's two opportunities to do that. You can join our closed community and see how folks within Forges, which are small group cohorts of 5 to 9 men that go through daily life together in pursuit of these goals, are located. And then there's the upper tier where you're part of that closed community, but you also get to join one of those small groups, those Forge cohorts. And they're called Forges because when you have intense heat and pressure, it creates something of value. And that value that we're working to create is to transform folks into Waymakers, right? And what's really beautiful about it is those who've done a lot of that hard work, right? They've redefined their second, they've defined their second mission or what significance and purpose they want to pursue with their life. They can help pay that forward and help others on that journey in this community, as well as those who are ready to get after it, right? They can join and get after it. And that concocting, that mosaic, if you will, that mixing pot is where we're seeing an immense amount of value and impact occur.
Outstanding. And on the website, you have an awesome African proverb on there. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think that'll resonate with anyone in the military first responder community, which is the majority of our listeners. And we have things we say for everything in the military, like slow is smooth is fast. Mm-hmm. But I think that one there really resonates with those who want to build themselves or build their business. Either way, you can use it in both. That proverb right there to make yourself into a successful entity as you move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things that really struck me exiting the service is the first 6 months was just crazy. You're getting out, everything's changing, you're working to feed your family. But then that starts to calm down. You realize that you have things are handled, you're moving forward, and the dust begins to settle. And that's when I started to really feel the loss of camaraderie, right? That's when I started to miss the team. That's when I realized, I don't have the same purpose anymore that the military helped to provide, right? Being a guardian of freedom and a leader and all these other things in that tight bound community. And I was beginning to self-medicate a lot, which, drink a bunch, do a lot of things, I stopped doing a lot of the healthy things. And I was really battling with those ideas and realized I had to make a shift. And I either had to accept the self-medication route, which appeared to me to be leading to destruction, or I could begin asking questions and doing some hard work to define how I wanted to spend my life. And the result of that years later, walking through isolation, all these things, was the creation of this community where it's like, hey, let's lower the barrier to entry on that process. Let's shorten the learning curve upon exit so that we can define and pursue that significance, recreate that purpose, have that camaraderie again, and in a way that is sustainable and can continue with us over the years as we continue forward into our lives and, creating that value in our communities. And that's where this community, after, navigating that for a while, it's like, well, who says you have to be completely alone when you're working to stop self-medicating and begin creating your purpose and pursuing it? Typically friend groups and things like that change, but no one I reject the premise that you have to go through complete isolation in that. And that's where the forges, specifically the small groups, are so valuable, because it's like, all right, I want to pursue significance and create something good with my life. I want to be proud of who I am and who I'm becoming. Well, you may have to change friend groups. Things may change as you evolve, but this presents an opportunity of people who are evolving with you. And it presents an opportunity where people are choosing to be there, right? It's a fellowship of free men, and you get to forge forward together as opposed to being alone. And at least what I found is there's a lot of value that can come from solitude, but the bottle screams a lot louder to me also if there's too much of it. And there's some form of balance between embracing solitude so that there's opportunity to meditate, think, and refine action, and then just being alone and miserable. And this works to provide that community for the ups and downs of life as we continue to forge forward.
Outstanding. And one of the questions in the chat was, what was your aha moment to come up with the WayMaker community?
So
or was there an aha moment, I guess would be a better way to word.
There was, right? So I believe in pursuing a more beautiful question, right? So this idea of like, can I find a question that's worth pursuing for my entire life? And the question I've found so far, and hopefully we'll find a better one, is how might I unleash human potential? And that question's driven a lot of things I've done as a father, as a husband, as a friend, as a professional. And with the community, I would be disingenuous if I said I started with that in mind. I wanted to have impact outside of my home, but I didn't know how a few years back. So I really focused on working on fixing myself and then allowing that to bleed outward in concentric circles, right? To my family, to my friends, to my community. And then after a few years of that, and this is where the community idea came in, I had done an experiment in a company that failed horribly. I had created a chat called Giggles and Motivation, in which we'd share like ideas with one another, working to cultivate, right, a not too serious but fun, positive trajectory. And that experiment grew, like that group grew too much, and it reverted to the mean, right? It became a meme sharing page. It lost its value. I left it. About a year later, continuing to do what I call personal contracts and stuff in pursuit of these ideas, I was like, you know what? I have some really cool dudes I served with who I love, who are getting after it still. I want to talk to them more. I want to be in community with them more. What if I created this community where we have some parameters where you have to contribute every day and things like that? And we could see if that would work. You know, that was a year ago. And now we're about to set up our third forge, and the community's growing, and it's an absolute blast. And it's so there was less so an aha moment, more so a movement to contact in pursuit of something worth pursuing. And we're continuing to do that. You know, I have a great team now that's helping me develop the community and facilitate and steward these groups, these forges. And, you know, we're continuing to move forward, and it keeps getting better with time. And that's the thing that blows my mind, because it's improving every day, and more people are being interested in it. And, you know, we get to start the third cohort now, and soon it'll be the 5th, and then the 10th, and so on. So what really excites me about it is the impact that it can have, because the cohorts are about 60 to 70% veteran based, the forges specifically. And universally, every veteran that's in a cohort thus far has said that this has reinstilled that team element, that camaraderie that they've been starving for, not finding in many other places, right? You get tastes of it if you do combat sports, you get tastes of it depending on these different things, and you can absolutely create it in other ways for yourself. But they found that despite the diversity in each group in these cohorts, and that has created a significant positive effect for them individually and for us communally. So hopefully that answers the question in a satisfying manner, but less of an aha, more of a movement to contact, and we're going to keep going.
Keep pushing through the X. That's what you got to do right there. And
yeah,
I think you're doing that well. As you said, it's growing as it's moving forward. As it's aging well. It's like a fine wine right now as it's growing and aging well. So that's a testimony to what you're doing and how it is actually working with the good and not like giggles and motivation. So that just made me laugh when you said it. So
oh yeah, one of the things I try to ground myself in is not being too serious, because it's easy to get really somber, but injecting some humor into life is beautiful.
Definitely. And I was with a group of seven veterans today, 6 of those crusty old guys and 1 younger veteran as we went to Washington, D.C. And we were sitting on a train and we were just laughing at anything. And people around us can see that we were different than they were. And we were just having a good time. None of us, only a couple of us actually served together. But it was like a brotherhood that just came together, and we were just laughing at the stupidest things and having fun the whole hour-long train ride down to the city and the whole train ride back. And it just helps you feel a lot better during the day.
Absolutely. And all the more when you seek it and cultivate it, it becomes easier to laugh, right? So there you go.
And I think they said it takes less muscles to laugh than it does to frown. So just laugh more. So.
Yeah, truly. Absolutely.
It'll help you grow, I guess. Let's talk about your the chews, the Sisu chews, and how you came up with the concept and how that's going now.
Absolutely. So that actually started this whole entrepreneurial bent. One of my partner, his name's Kirk Van Everen, him and I served together, and we had something called a go bag, right? And that go bag was just, in this case, it was just an ungodly amount of stimulants, nicotine, caffeine, in 100 different variations. There's a gallon Ziploc bag, and we just were stimmed up enough that had you taken our blood and given it to another large mammal, it would have probably killed it. But that's how we got through operations, right?
Right.
And when I was out, I left service, he was still in. And I was like, man, it would be cool if we could create something that is better than, a gram of caffeine and a crud ton of nicotine and stuff every day to get through ops. What if we could create something that gave us the pump, but also that we needed, but also helped us long-term with health instead of taking off the back end? And that question actually led us, we were thinking about energy drink, we were thinking about these different things, and it led us to developing Sisu Stamina. And Sisu Stamina is an energy chew, and you can tell it's designed by someone who served, or at least I like to think so, because it is precisely what I wish I had, both in how it's delivered and the effects that it gives. So you get, we have these things called Go Packs, which are small metal cylinders that hold 6 servings. They're watertight. They're mostly crush proof. Don't, run it over with a Humvee or something on asphalt. But yeah, I mean, you can give it a try. I'd be curious to see what it looks like. But they're awesome, and they're small, right? So it slips into just about any compartment, and you can take it into anywhere with you. And at any time, you can dip it, chew it, suck it, swallow it, and get an immediate boost within about 15 minutes. That's not going to make you jittery. It's going to give you clarity and the ability to operate smoothly. And what's amazing is we've been blessed to have surgeons use it before going into long surgeries, operators use it before going on mission, endurance athletes, and stay-at-home moms. The entire spectrum uses it to overcome their challenges in the day. And that's been a real gift to us. So it's the tool we wish we had that we created now and are giving to those who are still in those scenarios that they need something to get through now, but don't necessarily want to sacrifice off the back end of their life. And this is designed to meet that need wherever you are, whatever you're doing.
And they don't taste bad. Most of the chews you get nowadays are pretty horrible. As soon as you chew it, you instantly regret it, and you want to vomit or drink something right after it, when you overdose on something else to get rid of it. These, I tried it just as prescribed, and it worked well, and I recommend them to others.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that was 2 years of sacrifice. We had to fire the first 2 labs and manufacturers we're working with. It was a lot to get to that Flintstone-esque tenacious tangerine.
Nice.
But it works.
That's about right. Without the powdery taste,
yeah. Yeah, that mouthfeel. All those things you wouldn't even begin to think about going into design something like that. It is part of the fun, right? But it's an absolute beauty to be in a position now where it's like, okay, that's a tool that can help almost anyone. I had a buddy call me. He tried it after a year. He doesn't do a lot of these things after seeing us, running with it for a while. He bought a bottle, and then he shot me a message. We did not design it with this intent. But I'll just share what he had extreme ADHD where he'd struggle to read a book or write a paper or anything like that. He took it and he said, for the first time in as long as he can remember, he was able to focus for 2 hours straight. And that completely blew his mind. And he's been consistently using it since. And those are the types of things that it was such a blessing and a gift to hear, because, you know, in the context of Sisu Stamina, we set out to create tools that help people live better lives and accomplish their goals and really conquer them, right? So to get that type of benefit, anecdotal as it may be, was extremely encouraging, in the same way that, you know, getting the feedback from the community is extremely encouraging. And then same with the clients on the advisory side. It's a gift to continue living one's life in service. And that's what all of this has in common, right? It's, you know, how can I be better so that I can lead my home better, so that I can help others be better, right? There's this idea that if I'll do what others won't so that I can do what others can't, then I'll be able to call them forward and equip them to do the same. And to me, that is a worthy endeavor to submit myself in service to.
Definitely. One question that came up right away is name of the shoes and where to get it. So
yeah,
Sisu Stamina is the name of the shoes, and what's the best place to get them, John?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to ulauniverse.com. That is where Sisu Stamina is housed out of. Or you can go to jonmayo.com, and under more resources, you'll see Sisu Stamina as well. So either which way, you'll be able to find it. And Sisu is kind of a fun word. It's a Finnish concept that essentially means Sisu begins where grit ends. So if you think about indomitable tenacity and just no quit and tough as nails, that's essentially Sisu in a nutshell.
Definitely. And I give my stamp of approval for all those other listeners out there. It did not give me the jitters. I did not need coffee those days. I took that, and I'm awaiting my next shipment. So I'm all on board.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your support. Goodness, that's amazing.
No problem. You know, you gave me the offer to try it. I tried it, and I'll give you honest feedback. So,
well, it's fun to play that honest feedback live too. Like, I'm glad that it would have been a fun dance if it wasn't that way.
Well, John, that kind of sucked, and I hate it. And what?
Hey,
now, some people might ask, can they use this as a pre-workout?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I say it's a pre-work supplement. So. You know, I take it before I write, before I record podcasts, like I was recording for my show just before this. So I had taken one earlier this afternoon. But yes, I do use it before workout. I do jiu-jitsu, strongman training, and high intensity training. And I wake up each morning around 3:34. I'll take one. And then about an hour later, after getting some work done and some meditation, I go and hit it with my training partner. And those are pretty brutal sessions. And what I enjoy about it is, like with a lot of pre-workouts, if you do high intensity or endurance-based training, your heart feels like it's going to explode. Like traditional pre-workouts are better for like the bodybuilding type splits. I have an ultra marathoner in our community who uses this on his 100-milers and stuff. And so the ability to be able to go and fight, do high intensity training, do compound heavy lifts, and not feel like your heart's going to explode and feel good and just zoned in is one of the benefits. So it's not going to give you that like burning face, crazy, insane, out of control feeling, but you're going to feel like a smooth operator ready to get after and kill and accomplish what you need to in the gym. So
it does work for those of you who are pushing the weights and not too much into the high endurance stuff, where you're taking whatever your favorite pre-workout is. Either you take it dry or in a drink. Just always be careful with those as well, and find the one that actually works for you, so your face isn't on fire. And if it is, make sure that you check the label and see what you're allergic to in there too. So,
yeah, there's a lot out there.
Yeah, there's a ton. You can walk into PX right now, and there's probably a 10 by 10 wall of stuff on there of pre-workouts, and none of them you don't know what any of them are. So.
No, in fact, I just yesterday saw an advertisement. Do you need a bump is what it said. And it's a snortable caffeine substance. And they are hardcore playing the analogy with cocaine. It was insane. I was laughing very hard. But it's sure enough, it's some sort of a snortable caffeine supplement. I was like, goodness gracious, what will they think of next? But
and you know, someone's going to use it. So yeah, it's out there. If they say it, someone will do it. So now I'll shift here. You have, I think, 3 books or 2 books and one in a way? Or what's the process? Or what's your next I guess, item with writing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have I've published the Be Relentless book, which we've talked about, the Strive methodology. I wrote a handbook for, and I'm going, and that's available for those who reach out and contact me. I'll send them that. And I'm working on formally publishing that, with all the prettiness and stuff that comes with that process. So that's in the works. And then I'm evaluating interest in expanding upon and writing on the universal learning approach as an actual learning concept on the back end to both Be Relentless and Strive. So depending on interest there, I'll continue that. But otherwise, as I'm working on the Strive publication, I've been writing ferociously. So starting Monday, quite a few articles will begin to pump out of jonmayo.com. So people can subscribe and check that out for business leadership, strategy, personal development, and motivation. And that's been a lot of fun, and really thinking about what is the next worthy endeavor as far as a book would be concerned to continue that process.
Awesome. And besides all the things we've already talked about that you do on a daily basis, you also have a podcast. Let's talk about your podcast and what your goal with the podcast is. The Jon Mayo podcast is the name of it. How often do you record, and how often do you release?
Yes, absolutely. So blessed to be working with a gentleman named Brandon he's my podcast producer, and we've had a lot of fun. And then the Jon Mayo podcast is also part of the Hero Media Group. So those are two fun things to shout out to Hero Media Group and Adam Bird. And with the podcast, we're working to continually evolve and enhance it. So right now you're going to see 2 episodes a week. The first is an extremely short form, sub 90-second episode, which is aimed at cultivating curiosity. And that's done through essentially asking a thought-provoking question with a little bit of context to help get into your brain a bit and stop what you're doing and think for a moment. So once a week on Tuesdays, you're going to get that cultivating curiosity opportunity. And then there's a actionable insight that's released every Thursday. And, that's all aimed at all the topics that we've discussed so far. And then in addition to that, I sit down and record 1 to 2 conversations with a guest a month. And then those publish, 1 to 2 opportunities a month, in addition to the cultivating curiosity and actionable insights. So that's what we're looking at, Tuesday, Thursday split with a bonus in-depth exploratory conversation with 1 to 2 amazing individuals each month as well. So you're getting 4 to 6 episodes from, inspiring better questioning to things that you can do to improve your circumstances, to seeing how other people are being waymakers in their own environments and arenas.
Awesome. Jon, we've hit a lot of topics, a lot of Jon stuff we hit tonight. So I think we hit all of the things you're doing right now, according to my checklist I've written down in your website in front of me here. So I think I got everything. I usually miss a lot of things with a guest, but I actually did my homework with you since we talked before. So that actually helped a lot. What tips would you give that veteran coming out now, since you went through the transition? You know what that wall feels like when you come out, you take the boots off the last time, and you go out there and you don't know what to do with your hands. What kind of tips would you give that veteran as they look to forge forward, like you have, into a successful entrepreneurial journey or whatever their journey is after service?
Yeah, absolutely. If someone's in the act of actually transitioning right now, it's probably more than likely too soon for them to have the desire or feel like they're missing something. So I'd say, join the open source community and forget about it until it comes back to mind. Because at least what I've discovered from talking with a lot of folks who are getting off service now and things like that is it's busy. When you're in, you have that camaraderie, you have all those things. And when you're getting out, everything's up in the air. But then 6 months goes by, and then you start to have the dust settle and everything else happens. And that's when the opportunity really comes up to, press into the community and do a lot more. But let's say that's not your bent. And what can you do? The one thing I propose that anyone do, and I strongly advocate, is ask questions a lot. Because the more questions that you ask, the more intentional you'll be. And the more intentional you are, the better chance you will not go down the default cycle, and you'll better avoid the self-medication and the hopelessness that can come without that intentionality and those questioning. And if you ask a bunch of questions, you'll end up likely creating the life you want one way or another. So I would encourage them to ask questions and not accept the feelings of isolation or aloneness, or is this what it's like out here? as what it is, because it's only going to be isolating or lonely or purposeless if you let it be. So ask questions, pursue what it could be. And if you want to do it with us in community, then, we've talked thoroughly about that.
I like to take a pause, because you're right. You don't really miss it until it's probably like you said, 6 months in or so. Some people, it takes a little longer. Some people miss it immediately because they regret the decision to get out if they get out too soon. But that sense of purpose, that sense of community really is needed in most veterans. And that's why I would lose so many, because they lose that feeling of camaraderie, that feeling of purpose. And I think the Waymaker community is a great way to get them going again. And I think as you grow, more will grow into that as well.
Mm-hmm. And, one of the things, our first purpose, on the veteran side, our initial mission was given to us, right? We raised our hand, we swore our oath, and we served. And so we had our mission, we had our purpose, we had our team. When you get out, the script changes. Now it's up to us to write that. Now it's up to us to determine how we're going to continue serving and in what capacity and with who. And that can be very daunting, especially when the realization of how far gone that initial community is. How in the world do you create that is a worthy question. And that's why I've worked to either make it freely available for people to do on their own or join us in doing it, right? Because my goal is that we do it, period. Whether it's together or not, that's up to you. But the resources are there. So there's the Forge Handbook, which will outline how you can build this cohort without us and how you can do this in your own circles, in a small town or whatever, and not be technologically attached to anyone else. And that's because the mission is first, and that we need to create value and build strong communities so that we can safeguard freedom and continue to do so that our children can experience the joys and opportunities born of freedom that that maybe we've not specifically taken for granted, but that our society appears to be taking for granted. And, I don't want my sons to lose the opportunity nor their peers. And that's one of the benefits of this as well, is every positive action we're taking is further perpetuating the opportunity for freedom and liberty for my children and our grandchildren as well. So it's fun because there's such a large and long through line in this work, right? It's so much bigger than yourself. And at the beginning, there's the advertisement for the suicide. Think of those around you. It's like, yeah, do think of those around you and what you can have as well, and press in. So
you spoke of Adam Bird. You brought him into fruition. He jumped on to two great Americans. Thanks, Adam, for jumping on and hanging out with two Heroes Media Group's rock stars here. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
So John, where's a good place for people to get in contact with you if they want to chat with you like we did tonight, or maybe pick your brain if they have a chance to?
Yeah, absolutely. The best place would be jonmayo.com with no H. So JONMAYO.com. And if they want to grab a virtual coffee with me, they can there. Otherwise, I've worked to, as simply as possible, make everything we've talked about available to help people who lead better lives, right? It's as simple as that. But simple is not always easy. And that's why all this is being worked on. So
exactly. And that website is going across the bottom of the screen. And when this comes into full publication, that will be in the show notes, so you can reach out and touch him and be able to talk to John whenever he has a chance to get you on the schedule. John, again, thank you for taking some of your time this Thursday evening and hanging out with us. I hope you have a great weekend, great Christmas, and don't forget, go Army, beat Navy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the MisFit Nation. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all of our past episodes and get some of that great MisFit Nation gear. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are MisFit Nation.